student. So otherwise they will keep telling you, sir, I have done it, but it cannot upload. Student A, B, C, and you keep responding to the kind of issue that it's not worth for you to entertain. Right? Why? Because we didn't give a clear instruction. Give a clear instruction, then you will work happily. Sudah tak boleh. Kenapa? Dah baca arahan? Tak baca. Tak baca memang tak, salah student lah. Right. Okay. So one more thing. I'm not sure whether you experience this or not. When I ask students to submit multiple files, they usually compress it. I mean, whether it's zip or RAW, whatever, right? So the problem is, if they compress using .zip, then I can just straight away open it in Windows because it's already embedded in Windows, right? But if they compress with WinRAR or whatever the name extension is, then I need to find the software to extract it. It takes time for me. So if I want for student to lower the size file by compress it, you mention straight away only zip file. Other than that, will not accepted. No mark given. You mention straight away like that. And it will help you during the assessing process more efficient. So even I did that, still there are few students who do not read the instruction carefully. In that case, you can give straight 0. But I don't, kita tak sampai hati lah, betul tak? But it's very, very critical for students to pay attention on the instruction. One of the funny thing is when I went to BTN, masa nak pergi overseas sama belajar, kena pergi BTN kan, ada apa orang kata, kita panggil apa? Pesi kan, Pesi dia bagi soalan banyak kan. Kita dah ingatkan test ni soalan banyak 30. Rupa punya arahan dia suruh jawab 3 soalan je. Soalan 8 dia bagi tahulah. Itu je. Kita ni kemarin lagi dapat soalan tak sempat habis pun. Tak sempat jawab. Memang dia suruh buat dalam 2 minit 30 soalan. Mana munasabah betul. Kita rupanya lesson learn is actually you need to read the instruction. You need to obey the rules, the instruction tu lah. Lesson learn dia macam tu. Itulah kita dah bazir masa, dah buat benda yang tak perlu kan. It's a very interesting kind of ni. Okay, here you can set whether it's online text is required or only file attachment. So how many files? Let's say 1. Okay, so here you can choose the format. Okay, let's say I only accept zip. And then maybe document file, PDF. Okay, PDF only. Okay, no zip, PDF only. PDF only. Save changes. Okay, kalau you berhati mulia, kan, tik lah ya ni. Allow submission after the deadline. Hati mulia lah. Tapi kalau you hati lagi mulia, you jangan tik. Kan? Why? This is the moment to teach and educate students to comply with the deadline. If we keep educate them, it's okay after deadline, it's okay. Graduate nanti, it's okay lah. Project submit pun after deadline. Kan? Hantar tender, lepas tarikh hantar tender dokumen kan. Hantar tak dapat je, betul tak? Contohlah. So grading rubric. Okay, so feedback. This one you can set it later on. Okay, save and display. All right. So for workshop, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 phases. Right. First, you need to set up, complete the setup first. I didn't define yet the assessment form or rubric. Right. I just create it and then put some deadline and whatever. Okay. To define your rubric, you click here, edit assessment form. Okay. So because you already choose the rubric, it will display in this rubric kind of format. So criteria 1. Let's say this one. Okay, so level, grade, and definition. Okay, no. This is rubric. Okay, rubric. Rubric ni kena banyak lah. Level 1, let's say level 0. This is very poor one. So you need to make, you need to write the descriptor for level 1 because I choose rubric just now, right? So let's say review the concept of one-sided visualization technique. So, for example, so level 1, there's no technique being reviewed. There's a review, but it's not about the technique. It's something else. So no mark, let's say. So this is the rubric. So for the criteria number 2, you can add more and more and more. Let's say by default it show only up to 3 criteria, but you can add more by click this button. So let's say save and preview. Okay, this is how it will looks like. Okay, so it's not in a matrix form, right? Okay, you can click rubric configuration, put it in grid, save and preview, So it will display like we used to see how the rubrics look like. Okay? So the criteria, review the concept of one selected visualization technique. Okay, no. So, okay. So at each selection, there already a weight that you assign during the setup. So you can assign according to your preference. This is how to set up a rubric in workshop. In workshop. In assignment, more or less the same, but the most difficult is actually preparing the rubric first. To put in the system, it's not that, like I just showed you, right? Okay, I have managed to put one criteria and with the scale of quality, right? Level. Okay, back to editing. Let's say I want to add more. Okay, this is criteria number 1, criteria number 2. So go back here. Okay, copy. Copy. Here's paste. Oh. And then write the descriptor for each scale of achievement. So defining this one is tedious kind of work. Not it's really you need to think in your context. For my case, I use a marking guide. This is a marking guide. Okay, whether you student yes or no, whether it's there or not. Comply, yes. Not comply, no. Okay. So you save and close. Since that I already put the criteria, but there's no descriptor, right? For example, for this criteria, I have only up to three kind of indicator. So save and close. Okay, let's preview. Okay, you can have. It's not necessary when you put the first criteria with 4 scale, and the rest of the criteria also must have 4 scales. It's not necessary. So it depends on scale. Boleh tambah scale? By default 4. Let's say tak cukup lah. Nak letak 10 kan, 10 scale macam SKT kan, betul tak? Kan? Macam SKT, SKT tambah scale. Mana ni? Okay, you need to add tat, 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 and then save and continue editing. It will appear another blank at 6 and 7. Okay? So if you don't add anything there, then why should the system add? Right, so quite clever there. Right, the design of human-computer interaction. Itu subjek komputer lah. So how they can predict, okay, if you to add more, then you to add, to put something previously. Right, so should it put the button add? No need. Right, just put there, and then you want to save, and then it will ready another blank criteria. Okay, so clear? Any question? The step, how to use a workshop comprehensively. You can refer to this link that I already provided, but I think you can refer it later on. First, focus on how I create how I set up a workshop, including the rubric. Okay, rubric. Okay, save and close. Once the assessment form, or so-called rubric, is being created, you can add later on, but do not add after student assess. Otherwise, student need to do again. All right. So make sure that you want to edit your form. It happen before you go to this phase. Okay. So once everything's complete, and then switch to the next phase, you can click here or you can click here. And click here. The first time I use the workshop, you know, when I set up, I don't know that I have to click there. So kita tunggulah kan, sudah nak mana hantar, tak hantar. Memang tak hantar lah, sebab apa? Tak boleh hantar. Cik, tak boleh, tak nak apa-apa lah. First time saya guna workshop ni, nak try kan. Rupa-rupanya bila cari-cari tanya, kena klik kat situ. Okay, kena klik kat situ. You need to click there first. To go for the next phase, you can put a schedule. After this date, automatically go to next phase. You can configure during the setting. But to go to the submission phase, you need to click manually. Click on that submission phase. Here or here. Oh, tak ada dah. Okay, let's see kat sini. Let's see. Initially, it is in the setup phase, right? Setup phase. You can click here, this one, switch to the next phase, or you can click switch to the submission phase. Click here, and then continue. Then student can submit their documents or works. The rest, once complete all the submissions, student on submit, dah habis ni, baru you boleh pergi ke next phase. If you conduct with a synchronous kind of session, if you want to make it asynchronous, you can set up the date. But after the date and time, student submit ke, tak submit ke, dia memang akan pergi ke next phase. So you can set up dekat edit setting. Submission setting. Right. Okay, ni tak boleh. Assessment setting. sini ke? Ni. Okay, enable. Ni open bila, tak apa, open, dah open. Submission deadline bila. Switch to the next phase after the submission deadline. Tick. Okay. So, deadline for assessment pun you boleh set. Okay, this one, this kind of style, you can do with the asynchronous. That means that you put everything there and let student flows with the time. Tapi kalau student tak pernah buat, tak familiar, I tak recommend lah. Sebab apa, nanti tak tahu apa ni. Mulalah tanya kan, WhatsApp pukul 12 malam sampai. Tak. Kan. Sebab apa, kita set deadline tu 12 malam kan. 11.58, 59 tu masuk mesej. Tak dapat lah, gini. So kalau you tak nak cari nahas macam itu, you patut dah boleh anticipate lah kan. Okay, guide dulu. Bila dah student familiar, then you can do kind of asynchronous. Saya pun I never do some kind of asynchronous with workshop. I have to be there whether I'm online or not. But normally I conduct this self-assessment and peer assessment during the lab session. Why? Because I can straight away give a kind of professional feedback from me. If student give a score of 5 of this particular item, I will ask why. So if they cannot justify why, then they know that this is not a accurate kind of self-assessment. If they give it 1, I also will ask why. If they give in the middle, I just ignore. No, it depends on the context. Then why? Because if during the lab session, kita tak ramai dalam 30 orang lah. So dalam PKP ni tak tahulah macam mana nak buat kan. Lab memang muat 30. Rasa kalau penjarakan sosial pula bla bla bla, mungkin lagi less lah. So lesser is better. So that's mean if you know well your student, you know this student is very good, but they got not a good kind of score right during the self-assessment, then it might trigger you why. Then you want to go and asking why, what happened. So last minute punya kerja, so gini. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, now you still have time for the final submission. You know what you need to do, right? So make sure that you do the correction as you know that which item that you not good at, resubmit. So students who do not enter or join that session will not knowing what they have to do. So that's and my attendance for my class is not compulsory. Not to say that it's not compulsory, that I don't ask students to come in the class. If you want to learn, and come. If you think that you want to have a rest, have a nap, sleep because you're too tired to come, just sleep. It's really kind of, nak kata there's a fair ke tak tahulah, tapi whatever you do, you will be accountable, right? But if you never come to my class, I will never block you to go to final exam because there's no final exam. To submit assessment, also I have no restriction as long as within the deadlines. After deadlines, it's not me who block, the system who block. If you want me to grant extension, you need to communicate with me and negotiate. So if I can accept your reason, then I will extend your extension. If not, then that's it. So you can set it here. And here, okay, this is one of the interesting part that you can gamify your course. You add restriction. activity completion, student need to, let's say, this self-check is the quiz that you perform this morning, right? This is self-check. I put a name label as self-check. So must be marked complete. Okay, so how I define complete for that self-check? Here, for, for this activity, I can consider you complete when you receive a grade. Okay, receive a grade, that means you submit and do the assessment. If you only view, that means you click there and then consider complete. Kalau macam tu, ada banyak orang boleh mengelak lah, betul tak? So it depends on you. If you think that okay, lecture, slide, notes, video, of course student only need to click and see it. Then you can track which student who do not click your notes and who do click. Macam saya set assignment submission, dia kena view dulu handout yang saya upload, kan, supaya dia baca, tengoklah kriteria yang saya letak dalam tu, kan. Mungkin dia klik, dia tak baca, tapi at least is one step ahead lah, one step, kan. Kalau memang tak klik langsung, then I have no guarantee that student know what is being expected. Okay, kalau dah settle ni, save and display, sini settle. The rest is actually dekat submission phase ni. You hanya tunggu je student hantar dokumen. Rubric assessment form you already define. For my example, I just put 2 criteria, right? So the criteria is actually up to you. It's your course. Okay, it's your course, and that criteria must be aligned with course learning outcome. Must be aligned. Must be linked up. Right. If your course learning outcome is to assess how student do kind of, like say, teamwork, right? But in your criteria, you assessing how student lead a project. Some kind of misaligned, right? So you need to assure lah itu. So that assuring that item, assessment item ataupun criteria is aligned or not is not the system. Is you and your, how say, peer in the subject, your panel, right? Your group of panel. Kalau kita buat seorang, if we, okay, I think I'm already aligned. We think, right? How about other people say, okay, I think this is kind of not clear, it's not well aligned. All right. Okay, okay, tak ada submission lagi dah. Ni, okay, one more. You dah masuk you punya course ke? You punya LMS, you punya course untuk next coming semester? Not yet. Okay, so tadi saya dah tunjuk how to create rubric in workshop for performing self and peer assessment. How student will do self and peer assessment? It exactly the same like you did before afternoon. Tadi pagi tadi kita buat kan. Itu you pakai topi sebagai pelajar. Hari ni sesi ni you akan buat workshop dan rubrik dalam you punya ni, dan bukti you buat you kena screenshot sikit hantar dekat dalam ni lah. It's actually is for you. When we create something and you know we take notes how to do that thing, it will help you to remember. Later on when you macam mana nak ni, jangan tanya saya lah, kan? Macam mana nak tanya. Sebab apa? You dah ada nota you, betul? Okay? Done. This is how to set up a workshop for conducting self and peer assessment. Once student dah submit, you need to set who will assess who. Okay? Kat mana nak kena buat? Dekat assessment. Oh ni, here, allocate submission. Alright. Manual, I don't recommend if you have many students. If you have 1 or 2 students, okay, you can do it manually, no problem. But if you have more than 20 lah, then you should use this random allocation. Okay, random allocation. So you can set number of reviews per review or per submission. So let's have a look on per submission. So if you have more than 3 reviewer per submission, you can see some pattern. Right? You can see some pattern. So if you have 5, that's better. Okay? Participant can assess without having submitted anything. Okay. If you do not want your student to see other people's works, because they may have budak universiti ni cerdik, betul tak? Budak universiti ni cerdik. So pensyarah dia kena 2-3 step cerdik. Kan? Student saya macam kuis lah. Dia, unlimited attempt. Try lah jawab sampai jumpa betul. Dia tak tahu pun. Jawab sampailah kerja betul. Nak cerdik lagi kalau kita set 3 attempt, dia tanya kawan-kawan dia, kau dah jawab gini. Pandai. Kan? Jadi kita kena banyak step. Okay, you buatlah macam mana pun, saya tak ambil makan ni. Pula. Kan? Nampak sangat bohong kan? Duration tu kan? Soalan ada 10, multiple choice. Walaupun multiple choice, the question itself quite lengthy that you need to really comprehend and understand, right? And walaupun A, B, C, A just simple words, you need to read and comprehend. 10 soalan tu jawab tak sampai seminit, 95 saat. Nampak sangat bohong tembak, betul tak? Tap. Kita sendiri pun baca soalan saja, nak try tap, habis 10 soalan. Lecturer ni adalah 3-4 minit. Student jawab tak sampai seminit. Situ dah nampak apa? It's not truly reflect student outcomes. It's just blindly shoot the right answer. Right. Nasib betul lah. So I think in medical kind of area, this kind of practice is not acceptable. Right. Mana boleh tertembak benda yang tak boleh, kan? So tapi itulah student dia cerdik kan. So you need to set 5, let's say 5, and then self-assessment disabled. Why? Because I don't set it to allow self-assessment. Okay, edit setting. Dekat setting, general assessment. Okay, you need to tick this one. Right? Student may assess their own work. Tick this one. Save and display. Go to the allocate submission. Random. 5. And tick here. Participant can access without evidence. Okay. So if you tick this one, that means those who do not submit anything also can assess their friend. If you don't tick, then they cannot assess. They will not be part of peer assessment activity. save changes. Since nobody submit anything, so no allocation will be made. Right. Oh, ada orang dah hantar. Tadi ada orang dah hantar. Okay, continue. Oh, tak ada submission kan? Tak ada submission nak allocate apa? Tak boleh ya. Okay. So that's why I always conduct this during synchronous. That means I will be with my student. Kalau synchronous ni, I never done that, and mostly student not familiar. In my course, I have done this many times, but with different student. Right, so next semester, different student. That student not familiar yet with this approach. So I have to keep, keep be there and then support. Say, masalah macam ni macam mana? There are many kind of unexpected things that you need to be there with, be bear with that. Okay, dah selesai ni, dah set up. Kalau dah submit, dah boleh access lah. So basically, yang paling susah dalam buat self-assessment, peer assessment is actually defining your rubrics or marking criteria, evaluation criteria, whatever you want to name it, right? Defining this one is the most difficult part for me, because you cannot just simply blindly put there and then assess. I need to align with the course learning outcomes. I need to properly put the weightage, right? So the tasks that require a lot of students to do and time, effort, you need to give a proper weightage. It's not simply everything 5. Right. Problem statement, even it's just a single sentence, to come out with it, students need to read, observe, review, critically think about it, right? And then come out with one single sentence, right? Satu ayat je, problem statement. But the process taken to produce a problem statement require a lot of effort. So you need to give an appropriate weightage for it. Conclusion. Conclusion ni conclude je kan, sebab everything is based on previous information. Simply conclude. So maybe not so big weightage, right? So you need to give a proper weightage. So thinking on that is not that easy. It's not that easy. Once you have it on your paper, your draft of your rubric or marking criteria, the rest is just how to use your LMS, right? How to set up it. It's there already. Probably this is the first time you see it, how this thing can be done in this way. Okay, dah settle. Okay, that's how to add workshop and set up the rubric or marking criteria. The next one is to add assignment. Okay, assignment, I believe most of you might familiar very well with these activities, right? Hantar assignment online. Betul? Okay. Perhaps the features or the practice that you won't yet discover is actually how to set a rubric with your assignment setup. That's all. So, how to do that? Okay, let's say here assignment. Yang ni tadi hantar draft. Yang ini memang final of the final lah. submission. Okay. So put the instruction. I think I can apa, skip that one. Availability. Okay. Set the deadline. This is very good one. Set the deadline. Submission type. Okay. If you require student need to upload the file, put it here. Maximum 20 banyak satu. One. Course upload. Okay. Accepted file. If you want to specific file format, let's say PDF only. PDF. Presentation. Spreadsheet. Document. PDF. Okay. PDF only. Feedback type. Okay, yang ni tak apa. Feedback type, you can here, annotate PDF. Kalau you tak tick yang ni, you tak boleh buat annotation yang macam saya tunjuk tadi. You need to make it, by default it's allow. Submission setting, maximum attempt. Okay, this is okay as long as not reaching the deadline. To click submit button manually, automatic anti-pass. Okay, great. Okay. If you want to use a rubric, you can choose here grading method as a rubric. Normally I use marking guide because it's simpler and it works effective for me. If you want to use rubric, just choose rubric. Okay? Okay, let's say you put a rubric. Grade to pass, if you want to more specific this one, you can put it. Blind marking, okay, you will not able to see which student answer. I think it's it's depend on how you want to do it. If you put yes, then yes. Okay. Show, okay, restrict access, okay. Here, let's say at restriction, activity completion, let's say draft submission, so they must complete. That means they have to submit the draft first, right? And then they can submit this final version. So if you want to make it that way, put that way. If none, then you don't have to. Okay, so this activity will complete when student view and submit this activity, submit the file. Okay, save and display. Okay, since that I choose rubric, I need to define the rubric. Define new grading form from scratch. Okay, new grading form from a template. So let's say from scratch. If you notice, defining rubric in workshop slightly different. Defining rubric in assignment, in the system. But defining your rubric is the same on here. It's the same, okay? So you need to define it first. So let's say criteria here. So what is the descriptor for level 1? Okay, no review. Okay, here's lack of reliable citation. Let's see, well reviewed with for example, Tak jumpa? You pilih rubrik tak tadi? Pilih rubrik, save and display. You need to type something first for your label of your activities. Without that, it won't save into a database, or it won't save into your course setting lah. Okay, so creating rubric in assignment is more kind of friendly compared to in workshop. Because here you have a add level. You can add level, just add, right? That way. You want to add more criteria. Okay, click the button, add criteria. So it's very, how say, I can say this is more convenience. Add criteria. Okay, I want to add level again, right? In between. This is so-called the fuzzy. Have you experienced using rubric to assess? So in that defined rubric, there is some kind of in between, right? So let's say the scale is 5, 1 very poor, 2 is actually in between, between 1 and 3, 3. Okay, right. 4 between 3 and 5. 5, very good, excellent. So this in between is really fuzzy. Okay, it's really fuzzy, and it's really always attract for for argument, right? For something that people want to play safe. Okay, I put in between lah. But I think this kind of exercise is not accurately assessed. Yes, we need to deal with subjectivity, but if we can create assessment item as accurate as possible, as objective as possible, do it. Do it. Because it will help students a lot. Students who don't mind about the achievement or learning, they just nak lulus je, janji dapat markah lulus. So they won't buy this kind of, practices. But we cannot create our student or graduate behave having a mindset like that. We need to make them to really particular about what they are doing. Right? If you are doing good, yes, it's well defined, it well assessed. You are doing good. If you are doing bad, it's well defined as well. Okay, so this is how to create a rubric in assignment. In assignment. Once you define all the criteria and all the scales, you can put here the score. The score, okay? Here. My advice, do not use a floating point numbers. Let's say 0 for this scale. This scale, you nak letak 0.5. 0.5. It will make very tedious kind of calculation later on. Komputer akan compute je. But please stick by using what you call integer number, integer values. Nombor bulat. Okay. So save and rubric and make it ready. Let's see. Oh tak ada ni. Oh tak ada description. Okay, kita buang. Yes. Okay, ada satu kriteria aja. Right. Satu kriteria aja. Oh tak ada. Buang. Yes. Buang lah. Okay. View all submission. Okay. Once you dah create final submission, betul? Kita tengok kat sini. Ada tambah tak? Ni final assignment submission ni, kan? Ada kan? Okay, kita turn editing off lah. Let's say macam ni. Ni. Okay, katakan ada student dah hantar. Let's say some student already submit. In my case, ramai lah pula. Tadi 80. Participant 116. Alright. So submitted. How many? How many? No, right? No. Okay. Can we have a sample? Example? Anyone? Please submit anything. Just submit anything in PDF. In PDF. I want to show you how annotating will works and how you can see that annotation from the views as a student. Okay, you are creating in your course, right? Okay, can you switch back to just one, just to show you to experience. Last previously I showed in my my course in UMP. So to test whether your system is ready to behave like that. Kalau saya je yang jadi, tempat sini tak jadi, then maybe yalah organizer boleh tengok lah. Kenapa pula, betul tak? Saya rasa apa? Saya rasa lepas ni Yuniza lah yang orang kata syarah ramai pakai ni. Pak saya pun tak ramai juga pakai ni. Saya sendiri pakai orang kata ni kita bagi tahu buatlah macam ni. Kan? Orang tak tanya, saya tak bagi tahu. bukan kedekut. Sebab apa? I think this kind of advocation, bukan, sometimes some initiative lah, we can say, right? I dah rasa macam you need to talk to the right person if you otherwise it's just same thing, right? Same thing. So orang tanya, saya cakap, okay, nak pakai, boleh? Boleh je. Macam ni, saya dah buat ni, gini. For instance like this, right? Dr. Suhailan is my best friend during my study dekat degree. So he asked about, okay, boleh datang tak? Okay, boleh je. So datang cakap pasal apa, pasal akademik, kata, why not ni buat pasal peer assessment and self assessment. Ni benda agak rare. Orang tak buat tempat saya pun, orang kata tak ramai orang tahu ni. Sebab apa? Orang tak tanya, kita tak tanya. Kalau tanya, okey, boleh pakai. Dalam muda dah ada workshop tu. Set up gini-gini je. Cuba kena hati-hatilah. Masa submit tu kena make sure submit belaka lah. Kalau nak patah balik nanti hilang habis. Saya dah kena dah macam tu. So kena hati-hati lah. Kalau tak, macam saya tak ambil markah. Jadi but I cannot do the triangulation. Okay, I don't meant to do that in this case. Do you know what is triangulation? Triangle is ada 3 bucu. So peer assessment is 1, self assessment is 1, expert assessment, you as the subject matter expert. Previously, we only have one assessment, right? We never triangulate it to increase the reliability and validity. So if you triangulate it, but you have to make sure this self and peer is doing it honestly. Otherwise, it's just spoiling the the data, right? Self-assess, tapi bagi 5 belaka. Bagi betul belaka, bagi semua score, full score lah. Sebab apa? Self-assess kan. Kalau macam tu, then it will create a noise lah dalam data analysis. Boleh? Jadi? Okay, dah ada tu, okay. Rubric dah ada, tinggal copy paste je. Okay, let me show you. Anyone have submitted? Okay, see, we have 3 submitted. Okay, ada 110, betul tak? Kan, katakan ada 5 je yang submit. Mana satu ni nak scroll down ni? Tak payah scroll down. You pergi dekat sini je. Filter yang submit je. 3 orang. So kalau yang tak submit, you pun boleh tahu siapa kan? Budak ni. Bukan budak lah ni orang tua lah ni, betul tak? Okay, let's say, assume there's a student. Student ni tak submit ni, dah dekat ni. Kata 1 hari lagi dekat deadline. Okay, select semua ni. Betul tak? Which selected. Mana? Assignment per page, show all. For example, no submission. Katakan Syafiq ni, Dr. Syafiq. Kata, let's say. Dr. Syafiq ni dia dah terlepas deadline. Dia pun bagi tahulah kita lecturer ni, cik minta tolonglah, hari tu ayah tak sihat, balik kampung, gini. Dia pun tunjuk gambar selfie kan, ayah kat hospital. Kita pun cairlah kan, okey, tak apalah, saya extend lah 2 hari. 2 hari. So, select dia ni, you grant extension, go. Tapi, dia hanya efek kepada Dr. Syafiq saja. Orang lain, macam biasa. So, extension date bila? You boleh set. Time pukul berapa? Save changes. So, this is the approach that we should do and act when we educate people. Humanizing, right? It's not just stick macam robot system. Tak boleh. Kita yang buat. So, it's very good features that without justification, the same principle applies. You late, that's it. No submission accepted. Why? Kita kena educate student supaya dia behave. Betul? Tapi kalau dia jumpa rayu apa semua, lembek juga kita kan? Betul tak? Bolehlah, hantarlah. Tapi kita nak they behave properly. This is education. If you want to, for me to become an effective educator is far more difficult than to become a subject matter expert. Ada 10 PhD dalam bak botol saja. 10 PhD. You seorang. That is difficult, but to become an effective educator is far more difficult. Right. So, congratulate to all of you, right, becoming a good educator using technology, right. Teknologi alat je. Saya orang teknologi, TS, technologist. Betul tak? Tapi saya bukanlah robot. I'm not a robot. I still have a soul as a human, as a person. Right, then I need to acknowledge other people needs, jiwa orang, perasaan orang. I have to recognize that as well. Okay, save changes, then Dr. Syafiq pun bolehlah hantar sampai certain date tu lah. Okay, so let's say kita nak tunjuk, nak submitted, yang submit saja. Saya nak gradekan Nur Haizal. Dr. Nur Haizal, saya nak marking. You hantar PDF kan? Contoh. Ini saya punya ni kan? Saya letak sini. Ni komen saya. Good. Good. Overall comment, good juga. Ni memang tak bagus. Komen tak bagus ni. Feedback tak bagus lah ni. Contoh feedback tak bagus. Apa good? Good. Okay. Right. So, sama juga student menilai saya. Cara saya sama pun sini. Bila student menilai kan, saya bagi tahu student, you jangan sebut okay je. It's not okay to me. I really love the part that you dislike. You don't like. You know, you feel bad about my course. Which part? Please be specific and objective. Right. Don't say just okay. I cannot improve with this kind of okay. But if you highlight, sir, your explanation is not clear. Which part? Which session? Be clear, specific. Then I can take it and then I can improvise. The one that you really like, that really good for you, you also need to highlight. Ada student, dia suka bila kita bagi sedikit tazkirah, motivasi. Ada student suka, ada student tak suka. Sudah asyik cakap motivasi je, pula kan. So, but you know, whatever you do, it's not gonna fulfill, satisfy overall. But at the end of the day, the mission is student come 14 weeks study with you. All the assessment you give, they have to do is actually to achieve the learning outcomes. If that you can assure, regardless how many students hate your way, macam cara saya memang student tak suka sebab apa? Tough, nak buat projek. Kan? Nak buat projek. Guide. You ask me, I will guide. You don't ask me, I assume you know how to do it. Tough lah, kan? Lecture, no lecture. Nota, tak ada. Kalau you tengok saya punya ni, kalau you tengok saya punya subjek kan, munasabah ke lecturer mengajar tak ada nota? Okay, saya ada teaching plan je. The planning, assignment handout, tak ada nota apa-apa, dah assignment dah. Betul? Ni sampel just play around with data lah. Ni reference link ke website lain. Pasal data analitik jugalah. Tak ada assignment submit dah. Mana nota? Tak ada. Boleh belajar ke? Because I'm very clear about the learning outcomes. Nota dari mana? All the books relevant to my course from libraries and the whole planet in internet. But make sure that you use reliable one. Not anyone talking about data visualization on my course, then you simply, okay, this is about, no. Wikipedia, okay, no. Okay. Okey, Dr. Haizal, Dr. Haizal katakan saya nak mark ni, komen. Ni, okey. Terletak muka sikit. Okey, right. Ni apa ni? Kan? Pakai mouse susah lah, betul? Kalau pakai stylus, okey. Siap boleh tulis lagi, betul tak? Sonok tak? Kalau pakai iPad, siapa pakai iPad tu sedap lah, kan? Pencil dia 400, betul tak? Pen dia 400. Beli je Android, beli stylus yang murah-murah kat Shopee tu boleh juga. Okay, save changes. Dr. Haizal, boleh tak you tengok you punya assignment yang you submit tadi, nampak tak apa yang sama tak? Ini screen saya. Ini saya punya. Dr. Haizal mana Dr. Haizal? Okey. Dekat assignment. Mana? Okey. Bawah ni ada. Bawah. Ni. Sama. Nampak? Nampak? Okay. If you manage supervision student, definitely they gonna like this. Trust me. You comment dia punya review, dia punya apa academic work paper ke apa ke benda lah. You know, you be specific kan. Jangan komen cakap kata, oh you kena baiki lah. Kat mana sir? Tak boleh gitu. Kan, nak zaman COVID ni, betul tak? Cakap pun, telefon je. Video conference, Google Meet, whatever. Tapi kita tak be specific kat mana. Memang sudah naya lah. Sudah naya. Dah lah dia duduk seorang-seorang kat rumah. Kan, kalau duduk kat kampus, lain. Kampus ni dia ada suasana, dia blur-blur pun. Tengok kawan blur juga, okey sikit kan. Reda sikit, tapi blur lagi. Lain. Kalau duduk remote teaching ni, aspek kita panggil apa, depression ni, we have to be very careful. Bukan kata student, lecturer, saya pun bukan depressed, saya macam stres jugalah. Kita cakap, konsult dekat online kan, student dengar ke tak ni kan. Ramai ni Google Meet ni kan, ramai. Tapi tak tahulah dia pay attention ke tak. Okey, kita sampai hari ni lah kita punya session kan. Kita pun nak keluar. Orang lain dah keluar. Ada seorang lagi tak keluar gini. Kan, kita dah keluar, kita join balik. Ada lagi dia ni. Nampak gaya ni memang dia masuk tidur je ni. So we don't know, right? But it's very funny, but funny is good, but on the matter of depression, we need to really take care and particular on that. Okay, so that's it. Use this, already there. Betul? Already there. Submit dalam PDF, baru boleh buat annotation. Kalau tak bukan PDF, tak boleh. PPT, tak boleh. For example, sudah nak Viva. Kan, so Viva pakai presentation slide je, betul tak? Betul, tapi submit juga PDF. Supaya kita boleh revise dan, you punya ni, mana quotation ni, mana source ni, you pakai diagram orang ni. Kan, tak boleh, kita kena acknowledge. Komen sikit kan. Tapi kalau bagi if you give the slide PPT format, then you cannot do that annotation. What you can do is actually you make the correction. That's mean you do it on behalf of your student. No, that's not the way. Okay, that's not the way. Okay. Rubric tu dalam satu assignment macam mana? You buat dekat sini yang berapa persen tu satu bahagian. Ya, tambah lagi lah. Dia macam buat soalan dan skema kan, betul tak? Soalan test, soalan ni, jawapan ni. You letak dalam satu rubric, cuma you tahu yang ini untuk soalan ini, item ini, yang ini untuk item ini. So you need to since that you yang assess, then you should know that, but you need to bear in mind as well when we do this thing, probably our colleague will take over our task, and if that is not clearly, defined and mentioned, then maybe your colleague cannot perform the assessment. It will be clearly if you want to conduct this as a peer and self-assessment. So you need to, dekat kriteria tu you kena indicate, this is for which item or question. Macam tu. iPad lah ni, takkan je dah 400. Okay. Could you try to install Chrome web browser in your potentially because the web browser. Whatever we can do here on the computer, right? Most likely because of the web browser. In PC, most browser will work well. But in Safari, there are things that work well in Chrome, but cannot work at all in Safari. Saya bukan nak jack Apple ke tak? Bukan. But we have to. I'm not using Apple, so I don't know much Safari. I never use it because even it also available for Windows version, right? I just use Chrome lah. Yang mana free, mudah. One more thing, Edge, you jangan Edge ni yang Microsoft punya, yang the first version, jangan upgrade lagi. Edge ni bagus dia, kita boleh buat annotation on the browser. You on your ada button ni kan, button kat atas ni, nampak ni? Ni kan, dekat Edge je. Chrome tak boleh. So you can annotate on the web page. So when you teaching that you use a web page as your teaching resources, you can jot down. You can okay, here's your logging is wrong, right? Okay, here's maybe I want to. Okay. You can annotate on the web using Edge, but you need to use touchscreen device lah. Kalau tak touchscreen macam ni, nak annotate pakai mouse ni, saya rasa cramp you punya jari. Okay? Alright. Alright, dah selesai. Okay, kalau saya dah tunjuk macam mana nak create workshop, nak set up workshop, create rubric in workshop, and to create rubric and annotated PDF in assignment. Create assignment, I think already familiar, right? But attaching rubric or marking criteria with annotation on the student works, I can bet that none of you have tried that before, right? So if you do this, collectively, the whole student will get affected, which is good. Kalau buat secara uncit-uncit, lecturer ni je buat, it will not give some significant impact to student. If everybody do this way, pusat bahasa pun buat kan, yang MPU pun buat, faculty pun buat gini. So student cannot running away from doing this way. Then you will see the impact on student learning outcome. Probably student will learn how to produce a very good quality of academic works. Tremendously. Because if you just do it, by individual, it's so difficult to give an impact to student. Cara Cik A je yang online, cara Cik B, C, D, E, F, D ni semua apa? Hard copy lagi dengan hard bound. Atau assignment hard bound juga. Kan? Habis student duit. Kan? Alright, so the last thing is you need to create the tutorial for you and then submit it in this here. Tutorial. How you create a rubric, how you create a workshop. Assignment, I think no need because it's something that you already familiar with the workshop. How to set up, what is this for. You make a self note, okay, in PowerPoint. Screenshot, put some description in your own words. I will not read your work. This is not for me. This is for your own reference in the future. If you don't do that, nobody will blame you and blame me. Okay? It's not for blaming. It's actually whatever we learn, we need to jot down, put a note. Later on, we can refer. I can bet that if you don't do it, I mean, you don't create, you don't use workshop in your course, I mean here, you will forget it. You will ask your friend, macam mana nak buat itu? Lupa lah ini. Because our daily job, they are always coming with a new things. Artikel yang kena review tu dah siap belum? Belum lagi, betul tak? Proposal, KBT dah hantar minta laporan akhir dah ni. Keluar daripada Dewan ni kan, macam-macam keluar. Tak ingat dah workshop ni. So to assure that you have an impact on this session, I would appreciate if you can submit your tutorial how to create a workshop in KeLIP ni kan, KeLIP in your KeLIP, in your LMS ni. You kena buat workshop, screenshot, tak ke PowerPoint. Okay, first step apa? Okay, it's like you create a notes for you, not for me. Why don't I create it for you? No, I'm too lazy for it. Actually, when we create, you already achieve the highest level of what? Of Bloom taxonomy, right? Cognitive domain. You create. To create, you need to understand. You need to comprehend. So you already achieved the highest level of learning. Okay, so that's it. Pukul berapa dah kita? Pukul 4. Hari nak kena balik Kuantan dah ni. Hujan-hujan ni. Semalam datang hujan. Dekat Dungun sampailah Kuala Terengganu. Hujan je atas highway. Alright. Okay, this one you can do it, submit later on. I ada buat letak deadline ke? Nampak lagi. Okay, kejap. I nak setting. Cut off date. Cut off date. Let's say kita letak ambil setahun. Cut off date. Maknanya until the date of cut off tu sampai, you still can submit. So it's very flexible one, right? So if you don't mind, if you don't care about what you learn, it's up to you. Okay? Alright. So I think that's actually the last thing that we should do. Not last thing. Okay. Reflection. Okay, kita end up sesi kita satu hari ni, betul? With some reflection dekat forum saya create tu, dekat dalam last part tu kan. Boleh tak you shoot your thought, your insight, your wisdom, my fellow educators, how self-assessment will affect our student in developing their critical thinking. How do you think about it? Or whatever you want to say about self-assessment. Just put in simple words to ensure that whatever we gone through this whole day is somehow ada lekat dekat minda you. When we do reflection, actually that what happened. Okay, self-assessment. Satu lagi saya nak share apa yang saya letak dalam teaching portfolio saya masa saya apply anugerah akademik negara. Calon je, tak dapat menang pun. Sebab apa? Ada sebab lah. Rupa-rupanya kita kena ada bukti. Masa kita ngajar dalam kelas ni, kita pergi ngajar dalam kelas, kita bukan nak rakam video bagai ni. Tak boleh. Anugerah ni kena ada bukti semua. Kan? Dalam kelas. Talk ni ada video semua, boleh lah orang organizer buat, betul tak? Bukan kita buat dalam kelas kita lah kena tak boleh, tak boleh, kena ada. So if you plan for applying for AAN, you need to prepare in that way. Bukan berlakon, tapi you have to give evidence. Treat that way. Apa yang you buat dalam kelas ni, you nak share dengan orang lain. Benda bagus, kita share lah. Tapi kalau kita ada bukti, kita boleh cakap. Kita cakap. Saya buat dalam kelas. Tapi mana bendanya? Tak nampak. Group saya tak nampak. Rupanya. Okay, kita kena plan. Lacking on that one. To be selected as a finalist, actually you need to submit your teaching portfolio. And teaching portfolio, if you are being selected, that means you pass the qualification already. So dalam portfolio saya, teaching portfolio saya letak apa yang saya percaya tentang teori Maslow. Teori, Western punya teori, tapi Maslow ni dia letak dekat atas sekali tu hierarchy of needs, right? Hierarchy keperluan manusia. Yang bawah ni yang basic lah. Makan tak cukup, memang tak payah pergilah cerita kat atas ni. So yang atas sekali is actually self-actualization. What is self-actualization? Rupa-rupanya saya fikir balik, sebenarnya tentang muhasabah diri. Kita kenal diri. Kenal diri baru kita kenal Tuhan. It's really Islamic principle. Self-actualization. Cuma nama term tu self-actualization lah. Self-assessment is actually leading towards that self-actualization. Dengan cara kita muhasabah diri, kita kena jujur lah orang kan, betul tak? Nak bertaubat ni kena betul lah. Bertaubat, ya Allah bukanlah dosa. Tapi maksiat buat lagi, tak boleh kan. So it's very good self-assessment. So if we can instill this exercise and practice become a habit among our students, I believe soon they will graduate with a very complete man. Knowing self and lead to knowing the God. Itulah falsafah pendidikan negara kan. Kita tak lupa dalam tu mesti ada. Bukan kata bagus ke ni dengan Tuhan. Tak boleh lagi. Unik lah falsafah pendidikan negara kita. Banding dengan yang lain-lain ni memang dia so called like tak letak elemen ketuhanan lah. Kalau negara lain punya dia punya ni, kita well written, well designed, I think it's cukup cantik dan indah. Cuma bagaimana nak terjemah dalam amalan kita sebagai professional educators ke dalam jiwa pelajar. That's all. So itu yang saya letak dalam saya punya teaching portfolio. Because it's come from my heart, I feel that way. So somehow, it attract probably juris. Tak tahulah kan. Tapi boleh pergi interview tu pun dah cukup satu pengalaman yang seronok jugalah. Orang tanya, mana tak ada bukti, tak boleh buat apa. Anyway, it's very nice, interesting experience. Producing a teaching portfolio that I think on the self-actualization. Saya dah buatlah self-assessment masa tu. Kan, dah lama buat tapi kita tak buat dalam bentuk bukti gambar tu kan. Masa buat tu. Dia kena ada benda tu. And saya rasa memang kita kena pakat-pakat buat macam tu. Bila apa yang kita amal ni kita rasa bagus, kita cuba rakam supaya benda tu boleh jadi contoh dan mungkin jadi jariah untuk kita. Okay, so I think that's all for today's session. Saya minta maaf banyak-banyak sebagai wakil daripada UMP. Kan, minta maaf banyak-banyak apa yang kurang dan yang lebih itu semua adalah anugerah daripada Allah. So saya serahkan balik kepada Tuan Pengerusi Majlis.
Okey, terima kasih kepada TS Aziman Abdullah atas sesi yang cukup cukup bagus, ya, perkongsian sangat baik daripada pagi tadi hingga sekarang to create a good portfolio, okay, dalam sistem. Kita membawa masa, saya ingin menjemput yang berusaha Profesor Dr. Harmi Muhammad Yusof selaku pengarah Pusat Pengurusan Kecemerlangan dan Inovasi Akademik untuk menyampaikan cenderahati kepada penceramah kita pada hari ini. Okey, saya rasa itu sahaja untuk sesi hari ini. Minum petang telah disediakan di Dewan Perdana. So saya jemput semua peserta untuk sama-sama menjamu selera dan insya-Allah besok hari ketiga Minggu Citra Akademik iaitu Forum Flag. So harap kita bertemu lagi insya-Allah. Dan terima kasih sekali lagi kepada penceramah kita, ya, selamat berhati-hati di jalan raya pulang ke Kuantan, ya, dan kita bertemu lagi insya-Allah. Okay, kepada peserta terima kasih kerana hadir hari ini dan jumpa lagi. Assalamualaikum.
Dah hari. Link survey mana dah hari? Mohon semua untuk tolong kami isi survey untuk bengkel pada hari ini.